Welcome, everybody. I am Stephanie Wozlik, business coach. I'm all about giving business owners permission to do business on their own terms. And today I have none other than Lauren Van Mullem with me here today, who is like the epitome of, I think, business on your own terms. I love it. I'm so happy to have you here. We are talking about copywriting and all of the adjacent uh, things that go on in businesses as it relates to copy and marketing. And I don't know where we're going to go today, but I know I wouldn't rather be here with anyone else except you. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Gosh, you gave me such a lovely introduction. What else should I say about myself?
Well, I don't know. Well, we'll just get into it. I met you because of your reputation as an incredible ethical copywriter, which I think we should definitely talk about today. Well, why don't we start there? What makes someone an ethical copywriter?
So, I should preface that my training, my background is in software as a service. So that is apps. That
Mhm.
is all of the things we get sort of pounded with marketing wise, and that is where I learned copywriting and marketing. And that is very, I mean, it's traditional, but it's also on the leading edge, bleeding edge, cutting edge, basically something violent edge. And, and they teach you all of the very psychologically manipulative techniques to get somebody to buy. So I know a half dozen off the top of my head triggers for the lizard brain to get you to do something I want you to do. And that felt disgusting. So I quit everything. I quit copywriting. I'm like, I'm going to paint. I don't know how to make a living doing that, but I'm going to do that. Or I'm going to make hats. I don't know how to make a living doing that either. Um, I was really searching for what was my next career because I couldn't do it anymore. And then I had a couple of really lovely clients pull me back from the edge and say, I really want to work with you. Um, would you mind? And I'm like, okay, but only for you. And that got me back in. And those lovely clients were coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then I thought, I need to find a better way to do this where I don't feel disgusting. And then I just started peeling back the super manipulative practices that I wouldn't want used on me. So the long
Yeah.
story short is ethical marketing is marketing that is aware of how you can manipulate the lizard brain and deliberately chooses not to do that to empower the consumer to make the best decision for them in their own best time.
Yeah, we're hearing so much now about like anti-capitalism and ditching the patriarchy and all of these like big like badass things that are happening. But like I love ethical copywriting because it's kind of like something I can do on an individual basis to just be conscious, a conscious business owner, conscious, like I pay attention to it as a consumer as well. And it feels like something I can actually control in my business. I can't, not charge people. I can't like, there are a lot of things that I can't change at this point in my business, but this is something that I can control.
Well, one of my favorite questions for copywriting, I ask this of my clients all the time. Why is it hard? Like whatever your people are trying to do, why is it hard? And so I love flipping that, like, why is it hard? Because it is hard to choose ethical copywriting over the mainstream marketing tactics. Oh, my tea is leaking.
That's okay. I don't know if you were asking me that question, but I think it's worth talking about because um I for this is my almost 11th year in business and I just genuinely didn't know any better for a long time. When I started my business, I was just taught copy and you're just given bullet points like if your copy doesn't have all of these things, it won't work. If it doesn't have scarcity, if you if he doesn't have urgency, if it doesn't have like pain points, if it, and you could probably list some more, and I think we should, if it doesn't have all of the things, it's not going to work, is what we're told. And so we have all this pressure when we're writing for our business, sales, sales pages, marketing, like all of the social media, whatever. I didn't know any better.
Yeah, that's huge. That is like probably 80% of why it's hard. And the other 20% is everybody is telling you to do it this way. And then you see it done that way for your entire life because as millennials, we have been sold to our entire lives. Baby boomers have been sold to their entire lives. Gen Z is not immune from this, although I think like they're actively resentful about it. The kids are all right.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you that we would avoid in copy then?
Oh, well, there are the easy ones, the easy ones to just not do because they're not effective. They actually don't work. Um, Psychologically, there are reasons why they do work, and then people have been sold to these ways so often that I think they lose efficacy. So the first one is charm pricing, which is like for $10.99 you get, and who remembers that from like late night infomercials? It's been used for a long time. We've all learned to do the math. But the way it works is humans read, or at least humans of the Western world, read from left to right, and our brains register the big number and not the small numbers. So we think it's $10 instead of 11.
I have to tell you, this happened to me just this week. I have been wanting to buy a MacBook for the last year. I was like, oh, my laptop's like getting pretty old. I should buy a MacBook. And then I like kind of waiting for Black Friday, even though I'm not into sales, but I feel like I don't mind saving money when it comes to Apple. So that was okay. Anyways, so we get to Black Friday. It was kind of my arbitrary date in my head. I'm going to buy this laptop. And I'm going through, and I had looked it up ahead of time. I'd looked it up, but they failed to tell me like the taxes when I looked it up earlier. And like it was all convoluted. And by the time I upgraded the memory and whatever, so I get through, and the final price, like I'm just about to click buy, and the final price clicked over to 3,000 like $64 or something. And I was like, holy shit. Like in my head, this was $2,000. Like
Right.
it just literally clicked over, and so I didn't buy it. I was like, there's not the laptop is not worth $3,000. Like there's so much more better things I could, that's not a good sentence, more better things to do in the world with that money. But it was like crazy. And I had to just really slow myself down and be like, oh my gosh, this is a false urgency, false like timing. Like this doesn't matter. And like I had to really check myself, and frankly that was not copywriting, so I kind of diverged from that. That was just like social programming.
But
But
yeah, but
it
when you set up
mhm,
that expectation of this is going to be a $2,000 purchase and that's lodged in your brain, it's really hard to shake that. So taking
mhm,
that time and being like, hang on a second,
yeah,
is something that's really good for us to do because that is the way to defeat the evil marketing.
yeah. One of the things I love about the new way of doing things, the new way, the better way, the ethical way of doing things is like transparent pricing.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell me what are your thoughts on that? Why does it work? What are the downfalls or upsides?
So I'm extremely biased. I've got opinions on this, and some of my clients, most of them are very pro transparent pricing, like, yes, I'm going to put my pricing everywhere. Um, and some of them have been really trained to not put their pricing up in the belief that if somebody sees the price, they're going to go, oh, I'm not paying that. Um, and they want to be able, and this is where it gets skeezy for me. This is where I'm like, oh, cringe. They want to talk the person into it. So imagine if you were interested in that MacBook and you thought it was going to be about $2,000. And instead of showing you the price, they put you on with a salesperson who tells you how amazing this MacBook is, how much it will change your life, and isn't it worth 3,000?
Hmm.
It's going to be much harder for you to say no to that because we're humans. We don't want to disappoint people, especially as a people pleasing human myself. I don't want to
Hmm.
disappoint somebody. So if they get me on a call, it's really awkward. And yes, you can get more conversions that way initially. But if it's ultimately not a good fit, 3 months later, you're going to write a review of the MacBook and say, this was not all it was cracked up to be. And
Yeah.
please insert your course, program, one-to-one coaching in place of the MacBook. The MacBook is a metaphor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this happened to me in one of the first coaching programs I ever joined. It was I'm going to say what it was because I don't think anyone should join it. It was the Jack Canfield coaching program.
Oh,
And oh, I want to know what your eyes are doing in a sec, but like they made me get on a phone call with my partner who worked out of town. So I had to like figure out how to get him on a call, and they would not sell me the program unless he was on the call.
what kind of 1960s bullshit is that?
Yeah, which I ended up buying because I was naive and new in the industry. And then I was in Australia. None of the calls worked at my time. The phone number for Australians didn't even work. Like it was, you didn't get to talk to the same coach the whole time. Like it was like different people. It was a mess. Maybe it's changed. That was like 10 years ago. But yeah, and they were at least using all the tactics, every single one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'll tell you my little story about Jack Canfield off the record.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. So I guess there's like this conception. There's two things. One, I want to know what you think about this. I think in the marketing world, there are so many things that have just been repeated as truth over and over and over again. Like if you do this, it works. And there's all these metrics about like, I don't know, someone needs to see your things X amount of times, or you need to have a countdown timer or whatever it is. Like we get told all of these things that work, right? But I actually am not clear of if they are backed by any recent data.
That is a good question because most of the data we have comes from like the birth of marketing as we know it, which was
Hmm.
in the 50s and 60s for the baby boomer generation. So the great granddaddies of copy, of marketing, they were really trying to figure this out from a very psychological perspective because that was sort of the theme of the era. You had what is it, Dr. Spock baby book, really trying to hack the human mind. And that's where we get most of this stuff. That's where most of the data comes from. Although we're still trying to hack the human mind. So there's always more data to be had.
And I think when the internet came, we had all this new data with like clicks and stuff, right? And split testing and all of that. I think we did get data from that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's the one thing I miss about SaaS. Because I love data.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my clients now, the coaches, they're not set up to be able to do A/B testing and really figure it out. Data wise, you have to have such a huge audience to be able to do that. And you don't need a huge audience to run a business, but you need a huge audience to get good data.
Yeah. Well,
So,
so my thinking is that a lot of the data as well is for very like it's designed for cold audiences, right? So if you were to like put up an ad or something and then someone came through and that the marketing and the manipulative tactics and stuff maybe work or don't or whatever in that scenario. But I think a lot of the people listening to this, because I also don't have a huge audience. I know most of the people listening to this, um, are selling to people who they have a relationship with, or they're warm, or they've been following them for a while, or it's a referral. And I believe that these kind of manipulative tactics, or just like mainstream marketing, are would hinder that kind of business.
That is such a good point. I'm so excited about this. So those things, manipulative tactics, they were formed around selling products, right? So you buy a product, you have the product, that's it. Maybe you buy the next one. It doesn't rely on an ongoing relationship based on trust nearly as much as selling a service as a coach. So you have to play the longer game, I think, to do it ethically, to do it the right way, to do it at all. You've got to build a relationship, like an actual genuine relationship with your clients.
Hmm.
And if you erode trust, like manipulating their lizard brains to make a faster decision, that's not going to serve you.
That's what I believe for sure. And I mean, not everyone listening to this is a coach for sure. They come from all sorts of different businesses, but it's the same. Like they're mostly all selling services, um, genuine, wonderful services that go out and do things in the world and help people. And to have repeat business and to get that business in the first place, I just think that that trust is built with every decision we make as a business owner.
Mm. Let's see. I'm trying to think of other big. If you look at sales pages, I don't know. Do your people tend to have the big programs, or are
Not
they?
not mostly, no. Think about like interior designer or like a chef or like a massage therapist or like the people out there doing like real work.
Yeah, I love it. Oh my gosh. You've just named like three of my favorite sort of industries to work with besides my coaches. Um, yeah, no, I think for that, the transparent pricing is going to be a big one. And
Hmm.
then it's really about giving your people enough information to choose you. That's what it comes down to. What information do they need to feel really confident and happy about this decision to contact you?
Hmm.
So if you're a massage therapist, I do want to know what kinds of massages that you do, because that's going to be something that I'm looking for. But beyond that, I also want to know who you are as a person. Are we a good personality fit? Are you into like maybe some energy work that you incorporate? Like, what are your differentiators is the other thing I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So, as long as you're giving people that information and not just your list of services, that's going to help them make the choice.
Yeah. Like I always say, I would never hire a vegan health coach. Not because there's anything wrong with vegan health coaches. They're just not, that's not the kind of diet plan I would want to be on. And, or even the kind of philosophy that I would want to be, talking to someone about on a regular or feeling like they're always going to be convincing me of that. And so I feel like when I'm hiring someone, I want to know their philosophies and their beliefs and their kind of slant and their angle and um their position in the industry because it helps me choose for me, not because they're bad or anything wrong with them. It's just a better fit.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the
Hmm.
secret sauce, right? It's the fit,
Yeah.
finding your fit and letting them know.
Well, so maybe now is a good time because I have some other questions for you, but maybe now is a good time to tell people, like maybe just give them some practical tips of like how can we make our copy more ethical, transparent, like trustful? Is that a word?
Mm. I would say one big thing, so the obvious thing is don't use things that are actively, obviously manipulating them to make a decision faster. Um, you want to actually slow down that sale so they can really think about it and figure, is this the right time for this? Is this the thing I want? I just shelled out $2,000 for an herbalism program. Finally, I've been waiting to do this for years. I've been following this woman like a crazy lady for years. And it took me that long to say, this is the right time. I can do this now.
Mm-hmm.
So she
Which is
still got the
so
sale.
opposite from how everyone wants you to. They want to be like, if you don't do it right now, this is going to be your last chance ever. But no, it's
Yes.
still there.
Yeah, it's still there. And
Hmm.
this is the year that I can do it.
Hmm.
So slowing down the sale is good, allowing them to think about it, encouraging them to think about it. I'm like, have a cup of tea, sleep on it, let me know tomorrow. It's basically
Hmm.
how I close my sales calls. And they're
I
not
love
even
that.
sales calls, like traditionally speaking. But copy-wise, bring all of yourself. Like, don't be afraid to bring all of yourself to your business, to your brand, to your website, because you as a whole person are your best differentiator. So if you're a massage therapist, you've got the list of modalities, you've got your list of massages. It's the same as a million other ones out there, but what's completely different and wonderful and unique is who you are as a whole person. So when you bring all of that, your personality, your quirks, your hobbies, interests, your favorite colors, when you bring all of that to your branding and your copy,
Hmm.
like that's how you make those connections with people who love you just right out of the gate.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So what does that actually look like? So you're a massage therapist and you're trying to bring all of you to your copy. Like what's an example of that?
So some of this, there's a lot of intersection between the visual branding of your site and the copy,
Hmm.
right? So the copy tells part of the story and the visuals tell the other part. On your about page specifically is where I really love for people to tell their stories. And it's not your biography, it's not your resume, it is not something you will find on LinkedIn. This is something that's very specific to your website. And it is the story of how you became the practitioner, the expert gardener, the hairstylist, the whatever you do, the way that you do it, you found that way to do it through a lot of trial and error, a lot of searching. And when you tell the story of that journey specifically, that's what's going to reveal your personality. It's going to reveal your values. It's going to reveal all of those delightful differentiators. So that's the secret sales page of a website is actually the
Yeah.
about page when you use it that way.
Hmm. I think it's so beautiful when people bring their their uniqueness to it. I'm just thinking of my neighbor as an example. She's a hairstylist and she opened up in her front yard the Healing Hut, which is so she does hair, but it's all, she uses all natural products, is very like eco-conscious. She's got her little beehive out front too. But also she does like intuitive readings and Reiki and kind of like she incorporates these things into your appointment. If you want to, you could just get your hair cut and have a lovely conversation with a lovely human. But there's also this like extra level of like witchiness, spirituality, like consciousness that you could, that could attract you to that kind of service. You and her would be good friends.
I I love her already.
Yes. Yes. It's yeah, no, you would be good friends. But that's the kind of what I'm imagining too. Like you could be a massage therapist that's kind of like an assembly line and people come in and they come out and you're playing the whatever music that everyone else plays, or you could like add just little bits of flavor, right? Because some people like to talk through a massage and you kind of want to know who you're talking to, right? And I just think that's really cool. And you can bring that into your copy and your branding and visuals and mhm.
Yeah. Let's see. The other thing I've been playing with is putting prices in unexpectedly obvious places. This
Mm.
is kind of a fun one and it's an experiment, but by now it's proven. My hypothesis was if I put all of my like need to knows, so like I do my program, and if I put the dates of the program, the price of the program, and why it's cool and different up at the top, it really freaks people out.
I am gonna try and pull it up right now.
It's so funny.
It's truer words by Lauren.com/mastermind.
I think it's slash mastermind, unless I tried to make it fancy for SEO. That always
No, here
tricks
we go. Okay, I'm going to share my screen because I love that you do this and I love that you teach this. Um, and hopefully we don't crash. Okay. So like it totally defies everything that you think you should know about this, but I adore this section, the need to know section. And I do want you to actually tell people about your mastermind. So maybe this is a good time
This is such
since
a
we
good.
literally have the sales page up right now. But this is so cool. Like, and that you put this right at the top. I've been trying to do this as well, and I know other people have been doing this too, based on your hypothesis and
I've seen it
recommendations.
on other people's websites now, and it's so exciting. Like, I know where they got that idea.
Yeah, it's cool. So tell us, well, for one, tell us why you think that works, and then we'll talk about the mastermind or the mastermind. Yes.
So, my hypothesis going in, I am a little bit of a scientist at heart, as much as my high school chemistry teacher would laugh at that. Um, my hypothesis going in was people expect sales pages to have a certain pattern, right? You get the pain pointy intro, you get what the thing actually is, and then way down at the bottom, somewhere, usually hidden, is a number, hopefully, sometimes. And they're trained. And when you are trained that this is the thing that works a certain way, you automatically go down to the bottom. And anytime you can shake somebody out of what they usually do, they
Mm-hmm.
start paying attention again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the old drama teacher trick of doing something very unexpected at the beginning of class so the hordes of children pay attention. That's what I did with this sales page. And the best response I got was from a woman who turned into a client, turned into a student. She's like, I scrolled all the way to the bottom, and then I had to scroll all the way back to the top. And
Who
then she read
wasn't
the whole
there?
thing because she's like, oh, shoot, what is she going to do next?
Yeah. I love it because you're totally right. You're like, I want to know how much this costs before I should invest any mental energy. I don't want to get to the bottom and then have read all of this and be totally convinced and then be disappointed because it doesn't fit into my budget or it's, more than I was expecting. And so I just think it's freaking genius. So tell us about the mastermind.
Okay, so the mastermind is Truer Copy Mastermind is the full name, and it's 6 very intense weeks of writing your home, about, services, and sales page. And there is a difference between services and sales page. Services is sort of a directory, sales page is where you're selling your biggest offering or all of your offerings, any of your offerings. Um, and it is the antithesis of other larger copywriting programs because I kept getting those students as clients. And I'm like, you just took this amazing, huge copywriting program. Why are we talking? Like, what happened? I was so curious. And they were gracious enough to tell me how those other copywriting programs did not actually give them the copy that they wanted.
Mhm.
Um, so I created this as a response to those sort of trouble spots. And the big thing is personal attention and accountability. Like, I am there with my students, so I only take a dozen. So I can really be in their documents with them, answer their questions, tell them like, yeah, this is hitting, and oh, maybe let's try this other thing for that. So it's a lot of hand holding in the best way because writing is hard and there's accountability. There's a wonderful group aspect of supporting each other, of course. But I think the real difference is I'm willing to just completely devote my consciousness to this program for the 6 weeks. And that is what gets everybody through, as long as their personal life doesn't blow up, because that happens. That's
Yeah,
why I made it from 1 month to 6 weeks. It's like, okay, if something in your life blows up, because life happens,
happens.
we've got 2 extra weeks.
Yes. Now, remind me, this starts in January. Yeah, January 15th. Okay,
Yes,
good.
mid-January to the end of February.
I just need to rave about you for a second because I mean I've known you for a while now, but then I bought your workbooks. You have three. Awesome. I bought all of them. I think you have three amazing workbooks.
Home
Four?
About Services Sales. Mhm.
Okay, four. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I bought four then. I bought them all. And I went through them and I did all of the copy from them and I ended up because I redid my website last year, ended up with like reasonably good copy, but I knew that it would take me like months to get it to the level that I wanted to get it because I mean, we can talk about copy resistance in a minute, but it was like my physical body was just like, don't touch that copy. It's evil. Like, don't go anywhere near it. It's so hard. Anyways, and then I used your copy rocking service, so which is really cool because I got to send my drafts to Lauren. And what did you say? It was like the Cinderella turning it from a pumpkin into the sparkly carriage. And that's exactly what happened. So I have not taken the mastermind, but if it's even remotely parallel to either of those services, and I think it
Yes.
is, I mean, your attention on anything copy related is just magical, just like the fairy godmother. So I can't recommend it enough.
Thank
To
you so
be
much.
in your orbit and have your help. And it's almost like now we know acts kind of quite a few people in common and I'll see their websites and I'm like, oh, that's really good. And then I find out that you helped them and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. So good. So I just, yeah, so truer words by Lauren.com/mastermind. I'll put a link. Tell me, why is copy so freaking hard? Like I was thinking about this. Is there anyone who finds writing painless?
Ah, not that I've heard.
Even when I think of like actual writers that have chosen this as their career, you still hear stories of how much resistance they have and how much like discipline it can take. And what do you think that is? Is
I,
the
I can't remember who said this quote, but it's like there are a couple of great writing quotes. Like, writing is easy. You just sit down at your desk and open up a vein, right? Gross, but also it's painful.
Mhm.
I hate writing, but I love having written, which has been
Mhm.
variously attributed to Woody Allen, and I'm going to credit that one. It's just a universal truth that writing is a miserable process. What makes it extra miserable as a business owner writing your own copy is you're so close to it.
Yeah.
You cannot figure out what your differentiators are because you are so close. Your friend sitting next to you just looks at you and can rattle them off. Figuring out what parts of yourself to curate and share as part of your brand, especially if you
Mhm.
are a multi-passionate, interested in everything,
Yep.
that was what was so hard for me because I'm like, I think I'm too weird to have a brand. And then it's so when I rewrote my own website after teaching my mastermind for the first time, I'm like, oh shoot, I've really got to, walk the talk because on my own website, I tend to try different things out. And some of them are great and some of them not so much. I'm always experimenting. But I sat down to rewrite my website according to my own workbooks. Like I had written the templates and I'm
Yep.
like, I'm going to dog food this, in SaaS term, uh, doing, trying out your own product. And I sent my draft to my favorite, very opinionated client. I trust her judgment very much. And I sent her my homepage draft and she said, this is hot garbage.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So what happened was I was so stuck into following my own formula that the fun wasn't there. I
Yeah.
couldn't get my personality onto the page. I couldn't get my energy onto the page because I was trying to do it right.
Yep.
And that is when I completely scrapped every version of my homepage that had ever existed. I started fresh and that's when I just freed myself up to let's do this completely differently.
Hmm.
And then I revised my workbooks to allow for this thing that happens. Some people, I call them the bakers of the world. They're very good at following a recipe,
Yeah.
and they can create amazing baked goods following the recipe. Some of us are terrible bakers and wonderful cooks because we improvise. We have to improvise. We cannot follow a recipe as it is written to save our lives. We're always adding
Yes.
something in. And that's what I am. That's what a lot of my clients are. So I wrote these workbooks, rewrote, to encourage the cooks, the people who are not going to follow directions because they can't, because they shouldn't, because we have to find our own ways. We have to reinvent the wheel. It, don't ask me why. Maybe it's a neurodivergent brain thing, but that's how we're wired. So now there is so much flexibility in here are the points you need to hit. You can put them in any order you want. It will still work. As long as you get these things somewhere on the page, it's going to function. And then I'm there as the fail safe. But yeah, it was trying to follow my own instructions was one of the hardest things I've ever done.
I love that. And I love how honest you are about that. And this is exactly why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because that permission to do business on their own terms, which is what well, you helped me come up with that. So there we go. Because I was too close to it. Other people are like, oh, that's what you do. So, but that's what you do too, is you give them permission to break the rules, but it's like, hey, you should probably tell them what you have for sale.
Right.
Like, you probably should tell them what's in it. I'm like, you should probably tell them what's great about it, you know? But like, the way that I like to write is I maybe refresh myself on what the research I've done on my clients, and I kind of refresh my, but I can't reference those while I'm writing, because if I do, I get so in my head. I have to sit down at my kitchen table first thing in the morning and just like free flow the writing. And it's usually my best draft.
Mm-hmm.
Like I it just flows, because I know I've been doing this a long time too, right? I've written countless websites and sales pages and whatnot, because I kind of got in my head, okay, this is how I should, these are the things to include, but it takes practice, man. And that's not why we're in business. That's not like, we're not in business to be writers. Well, you
Seriously.
are. The rest of us mostly aren't.
You hit on a point there that I don't want to gloss over because it's actually so important. Timing when you do your writing.
Mhm.
You've got to figure out when your best writing time is and hold it sacred.
Mhm.
My best time is in the mornings, and it's taken me however long 15, God, 15 plus years of having my own business and setting my own schedule to actually make the time in the morning sacred for concentrated writing time.
Mhm.
But it makes it so much easier because if I leave it to the afternoon, it is just swimming upstream the whole way.
Oh, I give up now. If I can't write, I do my articles Monday mornings. I tell people this all the time in all of my blog posts, articles, newsletters. I'm like, if I don't write Monday morning, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
Don't expect to hear from me on Thursday. It's like, it's not going to happen. So I couldn't agree more. We got to work with our own rhythms.
yeah.
And that is not, it doesn't have to be morning for everyone. Okay. So being mindful of time, there's one more thing I really want to talk to you about. And all this conversation, we kept having these segues, but we went in other directions. I want to talk about ChatGPT. Okay. Well, go. Go ahead. I have opinions and thoughts, but you got excited. So I'm just gonna let you take this, or you want to take it.
I am so excited about ChatGPT. I just think it's an insane technology. It's probably going to take over the world. This is probably how humanity ends. But for right now, it's really fun. And terrifying.
Yeah.
So I had a client. It was so funny. Okay, so he didn't have a lot of time to get his copy draft together. And what he showed me was a Google Doc of a sales page. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, this is so salesy. This is like the salesiest sales page I have ever seen in my life. It's using like all of the phrases, all of the tactics, the questiony intro. It sounds like a drug company commercial that merged with a car
Boy.
dealership. I mean, it was just like, and I'm like, this doesn't really sound like you. I'd love to bring for you to bring more of your personality into this, and let's maybe tone down the salesy language so it reads more authentic. And I'm like, and he's like, oh, that makes sense. I had ChatGPT write it.
Hmm.
So it was the perfect test case of what happens with ChatGPT, because ChatGPT takes all of the things that have been done before and it smushes them together. And when you ask it to write a sales page, it takes all of the salesiest sales tactics that have ever been created and it brings them together into like the smarmiest, sleaziest sales page. I did not know a Chat GPT wrote it. Like it sounded like
Right.
somebody who just, chugged the Kool-Aid of mainstream marketing. But now that I know that that's what I can watch for, I'll probably be able to spot it better next time. But yeah, that is what I love about ChatGPT. Um, It's great for coming up with email subject lines. Use it for title inspiration. It's a great jumping off place to get past the blank page. And then it'll spit out a whole bunch of things. Some of them might be kind of cool and you can work with them. And some of them will be so bad, you'll want to rewrite them.
Yeah. I love that. Hmm.
So I think, yeah, it's a good tool. Don't let it write your entire sales page. Maybe let it write your email titles.
Yeah, like so I personally don't use it. I really feel strongly that it shouldn't write like my articles and my like I don't know, that's my IP, right?
Oh, for
And
content? Yeah,
I've
no.
and I know we're not really talking about content today, but I know that's one use for ChatGPT and I keep meaning to, I just haven't done this yet, but I keep meaning to put a little line at the bottom of my article saying like I wrote this. Um but I that's 2024. That'll happen. But the I think like you said, there are definitely uses for it. And I think there are definitely people who have trouble coming up with stuff and it takes a lot of time or they put out a lot of content. And so they can use ChatGPT as a tool to like accelerate the process. I just know that you can teach it. If you spend the time to teach it your voice and what's okay and what's not okay and what you're really about and your story and nuances about you, if you take the time to do all of those things, then it can probably do a much better job.
That's cool. Did you see what George Cow did?
No, I think I saw he had a thing. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, it was really interesting. He used it wasn't ChatGPT, but it was one of the other ones, and he used it to answer a question, but in his voice,
Hmm.
and it really nailed it because it got like his own words, his own data, his own like it searched him
Yes.
online, and it learned.
Yes.
If I can create an AI version of myself, would I? Yes.
You could have way more naps. You could. Just saying.
I just think like eventually it would learn to take over the internet and I would be like cheering it on from the sidelines.
Well, and I think this is the thing though, like if we're just going to use ChatGPT to like spit out some stuff and you don't care, I mean, you're going to get kind of get some junk or maybe not get the results you want. But when we can bring our personalities to it, maybe with the assistance or maybe with not, but like that's where the magic is. If you want to sound like everyone else, great.
Right. Yeah,
But
no, the name of the game right now, and I think moving forward, is differentiation. So
yeah.
you can't afford to sound like everybody else. Not in your content, not in your copy, not in your branding.
Hmm. So that's not a do or don't use Chat GPT. I just was curious
Yeah.
your thoughts on it. I had it actually I didn't because I haven't done it, but my partner went on and said, "Hey, ChatGPT, write um shoot, what was I trying to write? I can't remember what I was trying to write, but he had it look through my website and then had it write something based on that. And it was gold. Like I sent it to my email list. Maybe you got it or I can't remember. It was hysterical. So it was really good for a laugh. And then I think had we trained it a little bit better and said like, actually write it more like casually or whatever, then we could have gotten there, but it was pretty funny right off the bat. Okay. So go to Lauren's mastermind. But even if you don't go to Lauren's mastermind, hop onto her email list because it's really lovely. And you're always sharing such beautiful things in your email list. You have excellent, I know you don't write blogs and stuff all the time, but there's some good stuff there. And I just think be in Lauren's orbit, please. Where Lauren and I collide, like be right there in that Venn diagram. And a few other people I've been telling you about, but that's the moral of the story. Where anything else you want to tell them?
I do have a twice a month craft and copy hour
Yes.
that is free, and the only tricky bit is it's only at one time. So if you are in Europe, it's probably your 4 a.m. But it is 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific time on Wednesdays, every other Wednesday, and you're welcome to bring a craft you're working on. I'm typically working on knitting or embroidery, and then I'm answering people's copy questions.
Yes, please go to that. That'd be great. Okay. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for being here. And if you want to get more videos like this or articles or all the other delightful things that I have to share with you, head over to stephaniewazlik.com/permission and you will get my permission slips most Mondays. Again, courtesy of Lauren. Lauren came up with that permission slips. Uh, thank you for being here. Always lovely to get to talk to you.
Thank you.